Hey, how's it going, guys? Kulprit here, and today I'm going to bring you part 2 of my Close Quarters DLC weapons review. Today I'm going to talk specifically about the Assault Kit, and the two weapons are namely the AUG A3 and the SCAR L. Here you see the basic statistics, just to give you a little background. They are basically very identical as far as stats go, minus the rate of fire. Obviously you see the AUG has the edge there, 700 versus 620 for the SCAR L. But let me just say that the stats can be deceiving, and I'm going to go into why that number doesn't necessarily mean a win for the AUG in this case. Below you see how you get them. I'm going to talk about that when I speak about each weapon individually. Basically, my biggest concern for these weapons, that despite they were given to the Assault Kit to round those weapons, round that arsenal out, fill in some holes it may have had, these are not very well suited, if at all, for the close quarters environment, despite the fact that you are getting them with that DLC. So keep that in mind. Just because you're getting these weapons with that DLC does not mean they were made for that. Does not mean you should load them up first thing tomorrow or whenever you should play the DLC and go. These are probably ill-suited for that environment. So first, let's look at the AUG. This is me basically trying to play it very aggressively, seeing how hard I can push with it. Obviously, you guys recognize the map. It's just a TDM match where I usually do most of my testing because I get a lot of, gun-on-gun environments. And I get to really see what it can do. And I'm being very aggressive, very in your face, very rushy. And towards the end, you'll see me being a little more standoffish, a little more long range. That's typically how I approach this, how I test these weapons. Basically, the AUG is a middle-of-the-ground rifle. To me, though, the problem is it's sort of stuck in a limbo. See, the reason I say that is it's kind of, there's better guns to use for close quarters. There's better guns to use for medium to long range. And even in the, all-purpose weapon, the middle-of-the-ground weapon, there's better choices there as well. Being the M16, obviously, the M416. I tend to like those weapons better, and their stats do kind of, they perform a little bit better. The rate of fire on this weapon is not high enough to compensate for its lack of a punch, and that's my biggest gripe with this gun specifically, is that it just seems to need a couple extra bullets. And now the statistics don't give any indication for that. It's just a personal impression I have. It just seems to take, one more hit marker. And I don't know if that is because of the gun feels sort of like the M16 or the M416 type gun, but it lacks the rate of fire, maybe? I'm not sure. It might take the same amount of bullets. They just take a little longer to get there. I have to play with it more to really digest it, but it's frustrating to me. It just seems to take a little bit extra to kill it. And that can be, that can be game-breaking for an assault rifle, especially one like this where, it's not really a long-range rifle, but it's not really going to be a rusher's favorite either. And sure, if you want to play with some variety, that's fine. But I don't see this being a go-to gun. Now listen, I did kind of say the same thing about the M416 back on the previous patch when they changed all the weapons. And kind of my impression is very similar here with the AUG. But I'm not gonna cast too many doubts on it because I did come around to liking the 416. So I'm kind of hoping that I will do that with the AUG. But right now this one, it just doesn't rank up there with me. It seems to lack a role, like I said. It's not the best at close quarters, it's not the best at medium plus, and it's just not even the best all-purpose weapon. So I don't understand really where DICE was going. I mean, obviously the AUG is always a favorite in all these games, especially Battlefield, especially Call of Duty, all those. But, it just doesn't seem to have a role, and there's weapons that don't have a role necessarily. The jack-of-all-trades types, the M416, M16, like I said, and this one just doesn't really even compete with those. The one positive I do like, that it could end up swinging me in the end, is with that bullpup design that the AUG does have. It does enable you to move much quicker aiming down sights, and you will get a hipfire bonus. So this is the type of weapon, if you do take the time and put it into it, you could probably really learn to enhance those benefits and really take advantage of them. And that would be more of a rusher's kind of weapon, where you see me right here, I'm strafing. It's very quick compared to other weapons that aren't the quote-unquote bullpup design. And, I spoke about that with the MTAR, how that's very nice. And in this case as well, if you like to move a lot, this could be a good weapon for you. But it's not going to be the best as far as just regular assault class weapons go. So I am going to play with this more. Most of the, the attachments I ran, I wasn't crazy about it. I tried the suppressor. I tried the heavy barrel with the foregrip. I tried a bunch of different things, and it just doesn't take people down quick enough for my liking. That could be either punch or fire, rate of fire. I'm not entirely sure just yet. My favorite setup thus far, and this is a little demonstration of it with long range. It does pretty well here. It doesn't really set itself apart, but it can definitely handle its business. I am liking pretty much the heavy barrel with no foregrip at this time. I don't really see a huge need for the foregrip. So I just feel like it hinders it a little too much at long range. So I go without it, and I just kind of, you know, manually compensate for the heavy barrel vertical recoil. But, you know, it can do the job, but I feel like, you know, if I had a couple other guns in this roll right here up in this 4th floor, I'd be doing much better. So, and that's kind of the problem with the AUG, I guess, is what you're saying. So, I mean, I'm still giving it a thumbs up. I'm not crazy about it. I have not fallen in love with this one. You know, like I talked about the engineer class, I really like the ACWR. I really, really like, I love the MTAR. Those are two weapons that I will look forward to using. And this is not going to be on that same level. To me, it's going to kind of fall into the middle of the pack. You know, if I pick it up, say, you know, I pick up a kit, I'll be fine with it. Because it's not anything that different from a lot of the guns I use. But again, I guess the bottom line, it just doesn't set itself apart. So, you know, please let me know what you think. You guys might differ after you've played it a little while. As far as how to unlock it, this one's about as easy as it gets. You get 10 squad revives and 30 assault rifle kills. I mean, that's just TDM, just basically any game mode. If you can get in a good squad deathmatch, that's probably good because your squads tend to stay closer there. You bang out those 10 squad revives real quick, and the assault rifle kills are no problem as well. So this one's typically everybody's first unlock. But, you know, I think it's kind of the worst unlock I've come across yet. So that's not a bad thing, though. That's just that I like the other weapons a lot. This one I just don't like as much. So that's what I have to say on the AUG. Let me know what you think, if you think differently. And now we're going to move on to the SCAR L. Now, like I said, the AUG could be getting a little bit of bum rap here because I really love this weapon. This weapon, to me, has a very clear role. It has a very clear style to play with it. And it just helps me because it forces me to play a little slower. And when I play slower, I play smarter, I play better. I don't get as cocky, I don't get as crazy, and my performance shows it. I do much better. This weapon, this is like my second match with this gun, and it just felt very comfortable to me. I was able to do a lot with it. Overall, you know, the SCAR L, it's a very nice weapon. You just have to play slower, and you have to try to keep your engagements at a medium range. You don't really necessarily want long range either. Just keep them at medium. You can get those close quarters engagements. You can push a little bit. I hesitate to say rush because you shouldn't be rushing with this weapon, but you can push. But what you have to do is you have to use this weapon, set off at medium range, post up a little bit, and basically what you do is you have to open up the holes in them first before you can move up. So you know you want to get a pick or two and then push. You're not going to run into a room and clear a room of 3 or 4 enemies and just keep moving on. It has a very balanced recoil. You know, the left and right balances each other out. It has a very slight vertical recoil. It has about half the vertical recoil of the G3. So I know a lot of you guys like the slow fire weapons. You know, the G3 kicks like a mule up. This thing has half of that, so it has very manageable recoil. And I haven't even used this with the flash suppressor yet, so even then, you would even reduce that even more. Basically, I mean, it's along the lines of a G3 to some degree. It doesn't hit as hard. The damage is not as high. It's just a typical assault rifle, whereas the G3 is an enhanced damage. But think of this rifle more as like like an L85. It's just got a faster reload time. Basically, all their stats are very, very, very similar. And then it just comes down to feel. It just comes down to how it feels in your hands. You know, you see me using an ACOG here. You guys know I never even use an ACOG, but I'm able to get the job done with it. And that's because I'm just playing a little slower, playing a little smarter. And, you know, because of the slower fire rate, it just has just a really manageable recoil. And so with a little bit of a slower fire rate, a real manageable recoil, it's really accurate. And like I said, I'm using the ACOG here because, frankly, I hadn't really unlocked any other sights I like. You know, obviously Cobra, the Hollow, or the Red Dot. So I was rolling with this, and I did fine. And I wouldn't really hesitate to put this back on it again. You know, you just, with this gun, the bottom line is you have to play smarter, not necessarily faster. So use cover, use terrain, use your other teammates, you know, see where they're at. You know, your awareness has to be turned up quite a bit. You can't just run and gun. You have to be smart. You have to be aware of the ebbs and flows of the match. And you got to try to get the points before they do. And basically, you know, like right here, this is pretty long range. No real problem taking that guy down. I'm not sure if I had the heavy barrel there. I did turn to it eventually. This one, again, as far as attachments go, you know, I'm not sure, honestly, where I'm going yet. I like the heavy barrel. I feel that really enhances this gun very well. I'm not so sure. I'm not sold again on the foregrip. Right now, I'm tending to like it without it better than with it. but that could change in the future. We'll have to see how that pans out, but that's just going to be a personal preference. And as far as optic, I mean, I think the perfect optic for this gun would probably be the hollow sight. It gives you a little bit of magnification to help you at mid plus ranges, but it's also not very obstructive, and you can still push and rush and perhaps go up arm and MCOM, that kind of thing. I would recommend, obviously, one of those G18 or the Raffica sidearms to help you kind of do a little bit of the room clearing. Sure, you can go to the 44 if that's your style, but I just think you'd be better suited with something like a auto, semi-auto kind of thing, like the Raffica or the G18, just to give you a little more punch when you got to really clear that room before you get to the MCOM, that sort of thing. So there you go, guys. I really like this weapon. I think you guys are going to like it. As far as unlocking it, you got to get 20 kills with the underslung grenade launcher or any kind of launcher, and 20 grenade kills. Kind of a pain in the ass. Basically, what I did is I went on to a high-ticket No-Shar Canals server, and for the most part, I ran around with the grenade launcher and just shot people. That's fairly easy to do. You're going to die a lot, but you can take people out one at a time, and you only need 20 of them. 20 grenade kills. Basically, what I did is I loaded up support, loaded up the frag perk, and I basically went to No-Shar, and I just would constantly drop an ammo box. I still kind of played and ran around, but I was constantly launching grenades into the containers. Sure, I ruined people's day and drove them crazy, but hey, I was having to get what they said I had to get. So that's my advice to you. So there you go, guys. There's my wrap-up on the AUG A3 and the SCAR L. These are the two unlocks you get with the Close Quarters DLC. Like I said, I like these guns. I'm not that crazy about the AUG. It's just kind of middle-of-the-pack kind of gun. SCAR L I really like. I will be using that quite a bit. I just will not be using that in the Close Quarters environment. That's just kind of the twist with these. So let me know what you guys think. Post down below. Give me some, some attachment tips, that type of thing. And like always, guys, I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate the thumbs up, liking the video, and I hope you enjoyed the vid. So that's about it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good day.